Today we start with the Zen and the New Testament, and so I'm really happy that you're here, that you decided to join even in this summer holiday, whatever that means. And so today we're gonna start with the Zen and with an introduction to the Zen Patriarch that we already know, like Dogen, from the Zen Patriarch. That we've used a lot of his book, like of one of the books about what about his sutras, so to speak. The Treasury, the eye of the Treasury. No, that's not it. The Dharma eye of the Treasury. Something like this. I almost got it right. It's still not right, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about. We have used that a lot, and for the koans, for the expressions, and so Zen Master Dõgen is today our special guest. I put him in the spotlight, just for to see where does this start with him, and just as another example, just like your example. How do you come to your enlightenment? You could say, how does that actually work? How did it work for him? How did that look? And what questions came up, or what considerations were as an almost like a knot in his consciousness that needed to be unlocked. And so Zen Master Dõgen has a certain history that brought him to where he eventually came, and recognizing that the Buddha nature, that the Christ nature of him was already there. Specifically this point was something that kept him busy for a long time. It's like, why study, why train, why do so much? And you recognize this too. Why do so much while your nature is Christ nature? So this, of course, has to do with the undoing of beliefs, of what you think you are, and that being literally like, it is not comparable, it's not combinable. Like, you can't combine the two, the ideas that you hold about yourself and that what you truly are. So that's part of what we're looking at today. I'm using the Matthew 5, I think it is, yeah, Matthew 5. So it's like the Sermon on the Mount. I use some expressions. I use a little bit of the Urtext too, just as almost like an empty expression, just to come to the place where Zen Buddhism is very clear at, you could say. Zen Buddhism is clear at the pathless path. Like, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to discover anything that isn't already present. We read this in the Course in Miracles too. It's like, no, it's a recognition, it's a remembering. No, your enlightenment waits for your recognition. When you recognize it, then you see that it never was gone at all. I think that's where Zen is great for, and to help you see that in whatever expression, and New Testament, of course, too. So that's why I bring it in. It's like Jesus was a Zen master, of course, and the same as what we read in the New Testament of A Course in Miracles. And so that's why I combine the three of them. And the book that I use from Zen, you could say, is the Dharma eye, the Treasury of the Dharma eye, with expressions from Dogen. I will not use too much explanation or anything, because it's really about we're discovering here what is already with us. In this stillness of recognition is where everything is already given. Now the confirmation of the certainty that it's there is basically the focus point in this set of meetings, which becomes very interesting, very deep in a sense, like very deep recognition, because this is not about comparing. This is not about comparing the New Testament with the Zen Buddhism. This is not about comparing. This is just pure coming to the place where you don't distinguish, where you recognize, where you're not trying to figure it out, but literally enter into a stillness and a centering. That specific word, like centering into your beingness. That's the focal point. It's like all the rest can go. It's really like that. All the rest can go. Now, I love that. So we do different ways. Like one of the ways that we will use is meditation. Now, the meditation of today comes from a very specific expression of Jesus in the well, you can't read it because it's green. It's like the way of the heart, from the way of mastery, and that's a book. Say download it. I've used it before years ago, but it's like a book downloaded by Jayem, and I use chapter 4 or lesson 4 from that book as at least a part of it for the meditation. And you will recognize, like, the wording is different, so it helps you to recognize what is true, not necessarily tissy fit about the words, but more like, yes, same recognition, wonderful. Can you imagine walking upon this earth, this very planet upon which you find yourselves, and no matter where you are, feeling as though every wisp of cloud, every blade of grass, and all good things under heaven and earth were already residing with you, within this sphere of your countenance? Can you imagine walking upon this earth and sensing that the light from the farthest star that shines during the night is already within you? That the whole of creation was held in the palm of your hands? Would there be room yet to convince yourself that there is something you lack, something you need, that the restlessness you feel must be valid? In truth, you are like one who has been given a perfect treasure, a priceless jewel, and you have placed it into your pocket and forgotten that you possess it. And so you run around trying to look into everybody else's pocket, and you've tried to seduce certain ones to surrender so you can own the clothing and therefore try to possess the jewel that you hope is in their pocket. But the great truth is that you cannot possess love until you set it free. You cannot move into a holy relationship with anyone or anything until you give up all trace of need to possess it. When your only desire is love, you will be willing to set anyone free, to support them in their own journey, no matter what it is or what it takes, and yet you will never feel your love waver. And if a twinge of sadness arises because you recognize that two bodies in space are now going to go to separate parts of the planet, as that twinge arises, you'll recognize it as the effect of a mistaken perception, and you will move within to the place in which all minds are joined. And you will remember that your fulfillment does not rest in gaining love from another, but in giving love to everyone. If, indeed, you would know the truth that sets you free, heed each and every word that is being shared. And if you would taste the sweet nectar of freedom, be you therefore committed to replacing every erroneous perception you've ever made, every thought you've ever held of anyone and everything, to set these things aside and commit the fullness of your energy to the simple but vigilant practice of remembering the truth, even prior to every breath. I live, yet not I, but Christ dwells in me. Therefore, I submit and surrender to the truth that is true always, for my fulfillment comes only from allowing Christ to be given to the world. Alright, stepping into this deep silence. Now we have a starting point. That's so great. So we continue with some Dogen history, some Dogen expressions. I want to focus on that first a little bit. It's like some focus expression and Dogen expressions. So Zen Master Dogen. Here's a great start. This is one of his expressions. To study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be enlightened by all things. To be enlightened by all things is to remove the barriers between oneself and others. Then there is no trace of enlightenment, though enlightenment itself continues into one's daily life endlessly. Now you can say like, okay, that's a wonderful expression, that covers it, but how did he get to it? That can be interesting to take a look at. So that's what we're going to do. But first I will repeat this one more time. To study the way is to study the self. Yeah, this is obvious, like that's what you're going to do when you step into a spiritual path. You're going to study the self, like who am I? Where's that? Where am I coming from? What am I? How did it begin? What do you do? To study the self is to forget the self, is a conclusion that you come to. It's like in the development of the teacher of God, this is an important part. You study the self, but to come to know the self, you have to forget the self. And to forget the self is to be enlightened by all things. To be enlightened by all things is to remove the barriers between oneself and others. Then there is no trace of enlightenment, though enlightenment itself continues into one's daily life endlessly. So we're going to listen later on, we're going to listen to the story of Dogen. How did he come to this? So all human beings are endowed with the Buddha nature. Why is it that one must train oneself so strenuously to realize that Buddha nature, to attain enlightenment? Now, we all have had these questions, like why is it necessary when there's actually already a realization within you? The first time we seek the law, we are far away from the border of it, but soon after the law has been correctly transmitted to us, we are enlightened persons. And they will come back in a very specific way. Like in the story of Dogen, we listen to how he grew up as a kid. Even like just in 10 minutes, we're listening to what considerations he got and how he worked with that. So that's what we're going to listen to now. And this is all preparation to see, like, oh, this is the actual occurrence, and this is what the story was for him to come to his enlightenment. Very recognizable in, say, translating it into your own experience, and seeing that you cannot not face the questions that are coming up. You will have to literally let them dissolve for you. You literally have to come to the solution. You have to come to the selfless self. You have to recognize that you're not going anywhere. It's like you're still sitting under the tree. That did not change. There's nowhere to go, in other words. It's a pathless path. Now these expressions are assisting just to come to the recognition that it is already here. It must be within me. It must be total too. But it has nothing to do with what I think about it. Now that sounds very familiar. Since we're using the Dõgen, the Zen Master Dõgen scripture, we might as well know something about his history too. And for that I use one of the talks of Osho in 1988, Dogen, the Zen Master, Search and Fulfillment. Now, I read basically only the parts that are about Dogen himself. Before I enter into the sutras, Osho says, it will be good for you to know something about Dogen. That background will help you to understand his very condensed sutras. Apparently, they look contradictory. Without the background of Dogen's life pattern, they are like trees without roots. They cannot bring flowers. So first, I will talk about Dogen's life structure. Dogen was born into an aristocratic family in Kyoto 800 years ago. His father was a high-ranking government minister, and he himself was an uniquely intelligent child. It is said that he began to read Chinese poetry at the age of 4. Another Mozart. Chinese is perhaps the most difficult language in the world because it has no alphabet. It is a pictorial, and to read it means years of hard work to memorize those symbols. To the born Chinese it is not so difficult because from the very birth it becomes ingrained into his mind. But anybody who is studying Chinese from the outside world, I've been told by friends that it takes 10 years at least if one works strenuously, 30 years if one works the way any ordinary student will work. Now at the age of 4, to understand Chinese, and not only Chinese, but Chinese poetry, that makes it even more difficult. Because to understand the prose of any language is simple, but the poetry has wings. It flies to faraway places. Prose is very marketplace, very earthly. It creeps on the earth. Poetry flies. What prose cannot say, poetry can manage to indicate. Prose is connected with your mind, and poetry is more connected with your heart. It is more like love than like logic. So at the age of 4, Dogen's understanding of Chinese poetry immediately showed that he was not going to be an ordinary human being. From that very age, his behavior was not that of a mediocre child. He behaved like a Buddha, so serene, so graceful, not interested in toys. All children are interested in toys, teddy bears, but who cares about poetry? But fortunately or unfortunately, his father died when he was only 2 years old, and his mother died when he was 7. Dogen used to say later on to his disciples, when he became a fully fledged master in his own right, that everybody's thought it was a misfortune. What will happen to this beautiful, intelligent child? But in his deepest heart he felt it was an opportunity. Now there was no barrier. Modern psychologists perhaps will understand it. You may be grown up, 50, 60, 70, your father and your mother may be dead. Still they dominate you in a very psychological way. If you silently listen to the voices within you, can work out that this voice comes from my father, or from my mother, or from my uncle, or from my teacher, or from my priest. Dogen used to say, it was a great opportunity that both the people who could have distracted me, who loved me and I loved them, and that was the danger. They died at the right time. I am infinitely grateful to them just because they died at the right time without destroying me. When his mother died, Dogen was translating the most significant Buddhistic scripture, Dharma, the essence of religion, from Chinese into Japanese. He showed every sign of a tremendous future, and at the age of 7, when his father and mother had both died, the first thing he did, which is unbelievable, was become a sannyasin. Even the neighbors, relatives, could not believe it, and Dogen said, I will not miss this opportunity. Perhaps if my father and mother were alive, I might not have left the world in search for truth. He became a sannyasin and started searching for the master. At the age of 13, Dogen was formally initiated. It was not easy to be initiated. One had to prove one's capability, potentiality, and possibility. One had to prove that one will not betray on the path, that one will not waste the time of the master, that one will wait infinitely. So he had to wait until the age of 13, and then he was formally initiated into the monkhood of Mount Hei, the center of Tendai Buddhism learning in Japan. For the next several years he studied the school of Mahayana and Hinayana, versions of Buddhism under the guidance of his teacher, Abbot Koen. By the time he was 14, Dogen had become troubled by a deep doubt concerning one aspect of the Buddhist teaching. This sutra that made him troubled to the very core of his being. If, as the sutras say, all human beings are endowed with the Buddha nature, why is it that one must train oneself so strenuously to realize that Buddha nature, to attain enlightenment? In spite of long years of training under Zen, Dogen still felt unfulfilled. At the age of 23, he decided to make a journey to China with Zen in order to study Zen Buddhism further. Leaving the ship, Dogen found his way to the monastery where he trained under Master Wu Chi. Still unsatisfied for the next several months, he visited numerous monasteries. Just as he was about to give up his search and return back to Japan, he happened to hear that the former abbot of the monastery had died, and that his successor, Yu Qing, was said to be one of China's finest Zen Master. He changed his plan to go back to Japan and went again to the same monastery where he had been. The old master, who was just a teacher, was dead, and he had been succeeded by Yu Qing, a man who had soared high and touched the peaks of consciousness, who had dived deep and touched the depths of his being, who had moved vertically upwards and downwards, who had traveled through all his conscious territory. This man, Yu Qing, proved to be a man who answered doubts, settled them, because Dogen was still carrying the same question, that if Buddhahood is your nature, why then why is any discipline needed? It was Yu Qing who said, no discipline is needed. No discipline, nowhere to go, no way to be traveled. Just be silent, settled, at the very center of your being, and you're a Buddha. You're missing it because you're looking and trying everywhere else except within you. You will never find your Buddhahood by changing this monastery for another monastery, this master for another master. Go in. Yu Qing is known as the finest masters, a very fine sword that cuts things immediately. His presence, his fragrance, his grace. Dogen remained with him, never asking a question, just drinking the very presence of the master, the very atmosphere, the very climate, getting drowned. When Dogen became a master in his own right, when Yu Qing declared him now no more play the role of being a disciple, at that moment he hit Dogen and said, you have come to understand. Now be compassionate on the blind humanity. Now don't go sitting on my side. You're a Buddha. Just because you were wandering here and there, you could not understand. Then sitting by my side silently, I have not given you anything. You have simply become centered. And in this centering is the inner revolution. Dogen wrote, to study the way is to study the self. So here we continue with some New Testament from Matthew 5. Some more text. You are the salt of the earth. But if salt becomes insipid, with what will it be salted? It is good for nothing except to be thrown outside and to be trodden upon by people. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt becomes insipid, what will it be salted? Miracles do not matter. They are quite unimportant. Alright, so I want to use these expressions, like being the salt of the earth, being the salt of the earth, being the light of the world. There's another way of expressing it. It's like if you hide your light, there will be an expression. Like when you hide your light under a bushel, then nobody can see it. It's like if you don't fulfill your function truly, then you don't fulfill any function. This is an essential part in fact in the Zen Buddhism, but also in the Christian mysticism. Like if you don't know who you are, you can't be in communication. You cannot literally be consciously aware of your connection with your creator. That's totally impossible. So this is the same. Like that's the same. So and the other one is Jesus says in the Urtext, for instance, like right from the start, dedicate your life to miracles. like, ask me which miracle to perform today. That is like the essential prayer, the one prayer that really makes sense. And then, say on the same page, he says miracles are not important, like they actually do not matter. See what I mean? Is like that is exactly the same with the pathless path. Like, where are you going? You're not going anywhere. So you pray and ask what miracles to perform, and then you hear like miracles as such don't really matter. Like, miracle doesn't matter. In other words, it's like combining this, like seeing this in a whole picture. The salt of the earth, like the essence of you, has to be present, otherwise it is nothing. The thoughts that you think with your human mind is like saltless salt, like it doesn't have any taste to it. It literally is dead already. It's based on past, it's based on ideas about itself without being that. And thinking that you can think with your mind, with your human mind, that your ideas actually make sense of some kind, is what really is what saltless, tasteless salt is. So here it is, and the miracle is not important. It's a catalyst in a chemical reaction. In a chemical reaction, the catalyst is not important. Like it doesn't make the thing. No, it just speeds up the reaction. Like, at least it gives an opportunity to have this reaction taking place. Well, this is the same with the miracle. The miracle as such doesn't really matter. It is just that for you it matters totally, in the sense of it speeds up the process of recognizing that you are not who you think you are. No, you're not separate from your brother. No, you did not lose your communication with God. So, in the end, that is nothing. Like, that is a temporary experience of transformation, but in the end it is nothing. Because your Buddhahood, your Christhood is already, it is the way that you were created. It is not bringing you anything new. Now this is interesting, because we don't think of this all the time, or I don't bring this in every meeting or anything. It's like the recognition of your enlightenment is really important. Like, coming into that and in fact trusting that, letting that do the work, letting that be the center of your being, is all that is asked. It is already true in you. It is just that you think it has to do with something else. The same as what we did in the meditation, that there's this little treasure. You literally think it's in someone else's pocket, while it is in yours. And now you go and search for the treasure and try to find it, and you're deluded. You're disappointed. It's not working that way at all. No, it was already in your pocket. It was already given to you completely and wholly. What is the actual occurrence? Nothing. Like, you end up being yourself. Literally, that's the only thing that is happening. You become yourself. You don't have to go anywhere for it. You don't need any instruction for that. You are already that. Now here's the instruction to that. That's the paradox. And I love that. So in Zen you see this back, and of course, I mean, this is also not a surprise, that the central teaching of coming to this is exactly the same. It has to be, because the experience is the same. Your experience of enlightenment is what you could say your holiness is. That is not different from anyone or anything. No, it's inevitable that you come to that realization, because literally it's the only thing that there is. I love it. It's just beautiful. So, yeah, here's the same one. It's like, you are the light of the world. You cannot hide a city that has been built upon a mountain. And they do not light a lamp and set it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all those who are in the house. This is from Matthew 5, from the Aramaic translation into plain English. Like, you are the light of the world. You cannot hide a city that has been built on a mountain. And they do not light a lamp and set it under a basket. No, you put it on a lampstand, and it gives light to all those who are in the house. So here Dogen comes in with an expression: to forget the self is to be enlightened by all things. Now, how does that relate to this then? It's like, if you are fully aware that you are the light of the world, is in fact a recognition of your enlightenment, that you are the center, that like this centering part is very important. Basically it is the part, and that is the only thing that matters. Like waking up in the morning, for instance, what do? Well, you start to center, you do your meditation, or you breathe, or you become still. What do? You center into your beingness. You recognize, oh yeah, wait a minute, oh yeah, there's nothing outside of me, oh yes, it's all happening in me, I don't have to look for anything. Everything that needs to occur will be told. I will be guided every step along the way if I stay right here. If I'm tempted to follow direction from something outside of me that points, then I'm lost. So here is my centering action. Basically releasing everything else, releasing every thought that you hold about yourself and about anything that can occur during your day. It centers you immediately into the power of your mind, into the power of your beingness. That's so beautiful, that is the simplicity of it. Now this, you come to this, you experience this, you in fact grow in this certainty of this, then be about your business. Then it's like, don't sit at the foot of the master. This is what Dogen heard from his master. It's like, then don't sit on the feet of your master. You go your way. Now go bring in this light, shine your light into this world. You know all of it. You can do this. It's like, start teaching this, start demonstrating that you are that, and hand it over to your brother. Literally set your brother free in doing so. This is how the salt keeps its savor. This is how your light is being put on a lampstand to shine, to literally direct, to literally say, enlighten the path. Because the path is already there, even though it's pathless. So the direction, the guidance that is given you on a moment-by-moment basis, just by your expression of it. And you have started to rely on that in your centering. This is so important. Like, this is exactly in that everything grows, because in your, it's like in the ones that you enlighten with your discovery, that comes back to you too. It's like you only give to yourself. Now that's what you bring in, that's what you receive, that's what you want to see, that's what is going to be accomplished, that's literally what is going to be reflected to you. So that's beautiful. And so that's why I love to share these expressions, because Jesus was the Zen Master. Jesus is expressing this. Jesus taught many. He only taught 3 years. Can you imagine? Blessed are those who are pure in their hearts, for they shall see God. Blessed are those who are pure in their hearts, for they shall see God. All human beings are endowed with the Buddha nature. Blessed are those who are pure in their hearts, for they shall see God. Yeah, this is another expression telling you the same thing. Like another expression telling you the same thing. It's like, blessed are the pure of heart. The pure of heart are not distracted by the turbulence in the mind or the conflict in the minds. No, the pure of heart are the innocent, are the children of God, are literally the innocent. What do the innocent do? Are they defending themselves? No. No. It's like, no, they literally are the expression of the Buddha nature, the Christ nature. Christ does not defend. Christ does not attack. There's nothing to attack. Recognizing that your brother is one with you, who is there to attack? So you see, like the New Testament and Zen Buddhism here come together, like everyone has a Buddha nature. Well, that's the part that you're going to communicate with. The rest does not communicate. Recognizing that you're one with your brother, that's included. That's how communication can take place. I might have one more, I don't know for sure. So let me take a look. No, this was it. So this is great. So I was just to get started with the Buddha nature, with Dogen. That's why I love to share this. All right. So another part that was shared. You see that the way that this is given to you is not conceptual. It's like I want to revert to the place where you have this recognition, where this is already set in you. It's not to learn more about Zen Buddhism and all its sutras and all. No, but using it, applying it, like using the expressions, just like using the Bible, to recognize the complete whole thought behind it, recognizing that it shares a common source, is where this is for. And that makes it a beautiful recognition. Yeah, so wonderful. So thank you so much for joining me today in the first Zen and the New Testament. And I will play some more relaxing music just to stay in this quiet, because you could feel that too, like especially halfway the meeting that we have is like the silence is so speaking for itself. The silence is so helping you to be still and coming into yourself. It's literally like that's where a lot is happening. Not by understanding, by engaging your mind to associate with the things that are being shared, or not at all. So yeah, that's why we do this. I'm going to share some more, or to play some more music with some silence in between, to stay in this, say, beautiful energy of recognition, and allowing our hearts to be purified, to be whole and perfect, and reside and rejoice in specifically that place, seeing and recognizing that is exactly where the communication is. Thank you so much. Thank you.